Hello friends, Mr. Skitarii here, and indeed it's time for the Skulls 2026 recap, going over all the important stuff that happened at Skulls, which by that I mean mostly Darktide, and that is pretty true of Skulls as well. I think even they knew it, because Darktide not only got their trailer, but they also had an additional video dev blog talking about the making of Skitarii, how it's going to be different and new and all that stuff, showcasing some very cute puppies. Yeah, it's kind of a... kind of Fat Shark stole the show here, so good job, Fat Shark, at getting that center stage for once. It's definitely deserved because Skitarii is a big deal, and it is Skitarii Alpha Primus that is the class. It's coming on June 23rd. All that has been announced, including the Deluxe Edition package. Plus, that has also told us what the exclusive weapons will be. I'll showcase all that in a second here. But yeah, let's just talk about the basic class and what we saw in the trailer. The trailer itself doesn't really reveal too much about the actual gameplay or workings of the class, but if we can more or less validate everything we've seen so far through leaks, we have a pretty good idea of how this class is going to play, although there's a few question marks left hanging out there. And what we can expect over the next few weeks is that we will continue to see dev blogs come out. I believe the next one is about the visual design, so maybe in that one we'll be able to get a glimpse at any extra cosmetics that are coming to the class. And speaking of cosmetics, let's talk about the Deluxe Edition set here. So this is the Deluxe Edition. You'll get this set, which personally, this is awesome. This looks really, really good. I love this armor, and especially the multi-ocular sort of face mask. Definitely an improvement over the standard, and way better than the Hive Scum. I really didn't like the Hive Scum one, but more importantly, what I'm hoping is that this class will have multi looks. I know that this is the typical Ranger Skitarii sort of look, but we also have a variant of Skitarii as part of one of the archetypes for the class that is going to be a Sicarian Ruststalker, and pretty, like, traditionally they do not have a long flowing robe like this. It's sort of a no capes situation, because you are running at 1,000,000 miles an hour and murdering people, and that getting tangled or something isn't quite like in the cards. Very curious to see how that works and plays out. But let's talk about what we can see here. We've got the weapons, so we now know the 6 exclusive weapons. It's going to go to that Hive Scum standard set by Hive Scum of 3 and 3, 3 melee, 3 ranged. It looks like it's got 7 here, but in order of appearance, right to left, we've got the arc rifle, we've got the galvanic rifle, which this one has this is like a Tesla cannon basically. This will actually arcs between targets, as I'll talk about later. We've got the galvanic rifle, which is like a sniper long rifle. We've got the phosphor pistol, which is going to be really cool for like a setup build where you can augment the damage the enemy takes. The arc maul, which there's a ton of stuff in this class related to electricity and proccing electrical effects, so hopefully that has a really cool weapon special. The power sword, and then this is a dual wield weapon. So we have basically Corellian's dagger and sword coming back from Vermintide 2, the transonic blade and the transonic razor, and that is going to probably be the predominant thing that's used by the Sicarian Ruststalker archetype. But yeah, that is really, really cool to be able to see all these and know that that's what weapons we're going to get. I honestly didn't expect that to come out so soon. Speaking of weapons here, we can also see that our little skull boy is armed as well. In the trailer you just saw a second ago, that shows him using a bullet style weapon. This is a las pistol. This is just a straight up a las pistol that we have in game. And they also talk about in the dev blog that it can be equipped with a flamethrower. So how cool is that? It seems that the skull does sort of serve in the aspect of your blitz ability. TBD if it's all of the blitz abilities that are related to the skull, or if it can do anything else other than fight. I'm hoping it can like hack and collect stuff. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that's what we got so far for gleaning information off of that. But there's some more to go over, because we have to talk about the, this is sort of more or less validating what I showed you the other day. This is, by the way, word for word what was translated from that Ukrainian leak that I told you was 100% real. This is that. But let me go over the high points here for you again if you missed it, if you want me to synthesize the information for you, give you my analysis. The really important stuff here is, let's start with the weapons and the archetypes. they talk about the weapons down here. So we've got our arc weapons, our galvanic rifles, etc., etc. And then the archetypes are up here. So we can be a ruthless long-range assassin. That is a Skitarii ranger. That's the typical thing you're going to see here. That's what this is supposed to look like. And this is, they have data mined the ability for this. It seems to have some sort of like focused target style, or not focused target, but it seems to like zero in your aim and make you have high precision with your aim. So it's going to be for shooters. Remains to be seen if what other buffs go with that, but that's what the basic archetype is going to be. This is what's going to be like the default. Before you unlock any other abilities, you'll have that. And then the second one is this frenzied servant of the Omnissiah, carving through flesh with a transonic blade. That word for word describes a Sicarian Ruststalker, and so do the transonic blades. They are associated with that form. And then finally, the one that has a little bit of a question mark over it, a walking storm of living electricity. Now, you know, this jumped out to me and like a couple other people. I was like, okay, this could be like an electro priest sort of thing, like they control electricity like this. I don't think that it is directly electro priest, because electro priests aren't Skitarii and Skitarii aren't electro priests. That would be a big stretch for like the lore to make that happen, but suffice to say, this is the archetype. This is the part of the talent tree where you will get lots and lots of electrical sort of things. Shocking is very valid, and it's definitely going to have a big synergy with things like Arbides, where he has his shock mauls and his dog and his shock mines that can all shock enemies. So going to be a pretty cool little interaction there. And yeah, the other thing I wanted to go over here is talking about the talent tree. So we have some interesting stuff up here that has yet to be explained. Their core power systems fuel a wide array of combat abilities, each accessible at different levels and growing in strength as more core power is allocated to them. So yeah, combat abilities that are able to grow in strength as you allocate more core power. That is not what is shown, or I can't see any elements of that in the actual trailer or in the dev blog where they'll show this. We'll show this in a second. But yeah, that's something I was thinking maybe that could be like a hive scum sort of thing, where as you level, you get more points, much like your stim supply, and you allocate those points and you get stronger in terms of like making the thing do more attack speed or more damage or whatever it is. But TBD, we don't know exactly what that is yet. So there still remains a few question marks there. And as I said, this is going to be explored over the next weeks to come. The dev blogs, as what usually happens, starting next week, will start with dev blogs, one per week until the class is released. And they've already declared that the next dev blog is going to be about the visual design. So hopefully we'll get some look into what cosmetics are going to come out, because yeah, that is, you know, we kind of have established this theme that we don't get any additional cosmetics past the base set for these DLC classes. So I'm very much hoping that there is a wide variety of cosmetics, because there's lots of looks that the Skitarii can take on, especially if you're cosplaying as a Sicarian Ruststalker. They don't all look like the Ranger, right? Hopefully there's lots of different colors and themings, and I believe there have been some data mined things about the color of the metal for your arms, etc. So maybe that's going to be in character creation. But yeah, let's pivot from there to talking a little bit more about the details that they showcased in the dev blog. There's a few things to kind of pick apart here. First of which is this dog being freaking adorable. Fat Shark, tell me this puppy's name. You know, hopefully you're watching this. Tell me this puppy's name. That is so cute. Look at that little guy. Oh my gosh. I have not seen a puppy that cute since I looked at Bernie like 10 minutes ago. Look at him licking his little lips. Anyway, let's cut forward here to the thing that we are probably most interested in seeing of cute puppies, which is the talent tree. So yeah, talent tree is a web that spreads out radially from the center. It apparently is now, like, this is a like old version of it, but they said somewhere in one of the dev blogs that it's now overlaid on like a cog. So those of you who mentioned that in the in like commenting on my video when I mentioned it was non-linear, you were dead on. Like, hell yeah, you guys have that predictive power too. So yeah, it's like on a cog and it spreads out radially. The interesting thing to note here is that we have 3 abilities and they're kind of spread at the far extreme. So here's one ability. One would have to assume there's a second ability kind of over here in this corner that we can't see. And then if I play a little bit more, the third one is at the top here. So there's where our 3 abilities are. And then here's a keystone out here hiding behind this. There's one keystone. Here's a blitz. So instead of like having to pick up a blitz right at the top, right at the start of the tree, taking blitzes seems to be optional with this class. So maybe this skull is always the blitz, but it has just a default weapon. And then getting all the way out here, expending all these points to get out here is optional if you wish to augment the skull with this sort of thing, or you cannot and save points. TBD also what these represent. These little ones right here that are ability shaped, but not abilities, right? They're small. They could be ability modifiers, but they're not linked with any one ability. They're like over here. Part of me wants to think that this is what they were talking about when they were saying that core energy. So if these are core points and taking more of these makes your ability juicier, you could have an ability and then you would be incentivized to actually spread your talent points around the tree in order to pick as many of these as possible and empower that ability further, which could be a pretty cool way to have the class be designed. So yeah, very, very excited to get my hands on this and see what this actually shakes out to be. And obviously this is the early form of it. Now we can actually see two talents here as well that we can talk about really quickly. We have one, Voltaic Restoration. This is 20% toughness to you and allies in coherency on ability use, which is pretty cool. We also had, oh, actually, no, there's 3 abilities, aren't there? There's one a second ago, right before this. Hybrid Combat, which melee kills increase your range damage by 3% for 8 seconds, and then vice versa. That stacks up to 5 times. And then right before that is System Shock, which electrocuting an enemy applies brittleness stacks to them, which is pretty cool, and that'll be probably very good because there's lots of ways that this class can electrify enemies, given what we've seen so far. So yeah, that is the dev blog there, and I don't think there's too much more in here that really shows anything secret about the class. Just a little bit of B-roll there. And the thing I really wanted to pivot over to here, where is it? Oh, it's on their page. Let's pull up. It's up here on the Fat Shark forums. So they'd put out a dev blog about the class and what we can expect. So yeah, this is them talking about why it's the Skitarii. Now, this was something that a lot of people were asking, like, okay, wait, how is it Skitarii, right? Like, the Skitarii are supposed to be like more elite fighters and higher ranking than us. We're just like little peons. But realistically, not really. Skitarii are rank and file fighters. They happen to be pretty like elite in terms of their combat abilities, but they are just regular kind of grunt fighters that just fight for the Adeptus Mechanicus instead of us fighting for the Inquisition. And the reason that we are a sort of more supreme version of Skitarii, why we are Skitarii Alpha Primus and not regular Skitarii, is, as I predicted, the Skitarii are not really fully autonomous. They don't have their own individual personalities a lot of times. It would be kind of weird to play as a character that isn't technically its own true entity, because Skitarii, the normal foot soldiers, are only semi-autonomous. They can be taken control of remotely by tech priests and sort of piloted RTS style while they get all the battlefield information, and that's what makes them such an effective fighting force. But apparently the lore justification here is that Hadron has been given the whereabouts of an old Adeptus Mechanicus facility that is upgrading Skitarii veterans into more elite Alpha Primus variants. So basically like putting personalities into them, and they have to wake up and be like, oh my god, what is this? What is my purpose? And it's to hunt for tech remnants in the fucking desert. Now, by the way, hunting for those tech remnants, that is apparently what attracted the Adeptus Mechanicus to come to the aid of Tertium. So that is apparently how the lore has been explained. I think we'll find a little bit more about that as time gets closer, and they probably have a dev blog about it. But yeah, they said that it's led several Forge Worlds deploying their forces to aid the battle for Tertium. That is how we're going to explain that there are different metal colors and there's different robe colors, I believe, or different robe sort of standards for the different Forge Worlds. So you can play as Mars or whatever else you want to. So that'll be cool, and that makes some sort of sense. This class is supposed to be very adaptable. That's the whole thing here, is that this class is going to be very flexible in the way it is built. So it can be a support, it can be kind of tanky, it can be an assassin, ranged or melee. it's pretty. It sounds very, very cool, and that's what that skill tree will lend itself to. Now down here is where they're talking about our weapons. They have an arc mechanic that they mention here. This is going to hit several enemies that are affected by the arc condition. Enemy energy will arc between them. Good for handling hordes. So this is probably going to work primarily with the arc rifle, but of course we've also got the arc maul. So I think maybe hitting them one time primes them, and then hitting them another time is going to then send shocks between them after the fact, which could be a really, really cool effect that adds on with tons of other things in the game. And that'll really, really work with that electro-themed set. And this is where they say, by the way, that this is going to be a cog that starts in the middle and you expand outward. And the servo skull is going to be always linked with the class. So you're always going to have a servo skull, and it can even have a flamethrower. So it'd be very cool to see how much you can actually put into the servo skull, how combat kitted you can make it. And we can also get a confirmation that you can pick the limbs that you want, and you can put voice modulation on top of the voice acting. And they said there are, I believe, 4 total voices right now. So it's going to be 2 male, 2 female, and you can voice modulate, one would have to assume. Now, I don't know that there's going to be any physical differentiation between male and female. I would guess not. Skitarii are pretty agender, but somewhere underneath there, they had a male or a female sounding voice to start with. So pick your favorite, right? And that is all they talked about in this first one. They're going to be releasing, as I said before, 1 dev blog per week until release. And the first one, they said it's going to start with that cosmetic stuff. So that's everything about Skitarii, Alpha Primus, yada yada. Now, let's talk about the other stuff that has been sort of pseudo-confirmed for this update. The way this was confirmed, I'll showcase it to you here by opening up the game. But yeah, this appears on the news page in-game. I don't know if they intended for this to appear on the news page in-game, but it does. And so, yeah, that has kind of colored what else we can expect with the patch. And I'll give you my true thoughts on that, which is that I'm good on classes for now, honestly. Like, Skitarii is going to be a really, really cool class, no doubt, right? This class is going to be a fucking banger. However, at this point, Darktide is very well saturated in classes and diverse ways to play. I am feeling that content drought very, very seriously. This class is going to be all I could hope for. I do not want the winter update this year to be devoted entirely to a class like the Hive Scum did last year. I want it to be devoted to content. New maps, new enemies, new weapons. That is the stuff people mean when they say new content. So here's what we can glean from looking forward here. The first thing you should know, by the way, if you haven't noticed yet, is that there is a live event called Dark Rites. Everybody who participates in this event will get 500 Aquilas when we reach the 5 million total goal. So right now it's probably at like 200, 250,000. I am unclear if you need to have participated before the total is reached. You can, of course, still go all the way to the maximum tier with the event and get the border and the resources and all that stuff. Or I think just simply playing one game within this duration will get you the 500 Aquilas. So that'll be good. Meanwhile, the store itself is not very good. We'll take a look at that in a second. But yeah, the store hasn't gotten the refresh that I was expecting, where it's got like the Skitarii or AdMech theme stuff. That will likely be reserved for the actual release itself. And yeah, this event is very much like the event last year where we broke the totems, but this year you get a massive speed and attack speed buff. It's kind of fun to zoom around the map like a crazy person when you break these totems. And then we, down here, have information about what will happen on June 23rd. So when this arrives, we've got our Adeptus Mechanicus, but we also are getting an update to Expeditions. Woohoo. Launching alongside the new class, players can explore a new expedition area. Okay. And experience the desolate Badlands of Atoma at dawn for the first time. So we've got a new lighting condition. We've also got electrifying environmental hazards. And the fact that this is distanced from this first sentence, I don't know if this is going to apply to all missions or if it's just going to be only in expeditions. I really hope it's something in all missions. We need more all mission content. And then we have quality of life improvements, balance changes, and bugs fixed, all to further enhance the Darktide experience. So what I would expect is that we're going to have part 2 of the current balance thrust where we're trying to reduce some of the craziness, the crazy power creep on both sides that's going on in the game. If you didn't see my video about the enslopification of Darktide, yeah, trying to fight the enslopping, trying to tune down the experience so it's not like a mile a minute fucking holy shit what the hell is going on sort of thing. I don't know if Skitarii is going to help with that too much, but yeah, that's hopefully what will be launched alongside that. I'm hoping that these quality of life changes is going to be something that's incorporating mods, praying that it is numeric UI, praying that it is guarantee weapon swap, guarantee ability activation, all that good stuff. And one more cool thing is that we have 2 new enemies coming out with this update as well. So Traitor Vanguard and Cultist Vanguard. They are shield-bearing human bruisers. They're faster and more agile than their Ogre counterparts, offering a new tactical challenge for the strike teams on Atonement Prime. So that means that these guys are going to be small. I'm guessing they're able to be staggered or their shields can be broken. But yeah, they are going to be shield bearers. I think that's kind of cool. It's like the shield-bearing clan rats from Vermintide 2. And I would also assume that associated with this, because we were going to have balance changes and bug fixes, they had mentioned something in a previous update or in a previous dev blog about bulwarks and how we would be revisiting those very soon. And it seems like that would be prime time to assess the bulwarks as well. So we're getting new human bruisers who are going to have ostensibly new animations and stuff, praying that it is not the same as the plasma gunners who literally just share all the AI and all the animations of the shotgunners. But yeah, these guys are coming out, and then hopefully the Ogrins will be reworked as well. So either we can hope to see a staggerable, sort of like disarmable Ogrin, or a shield that can be broken. Who knows what's going to go on there. And yeah, that is everything that we know so far. Now, yeah, my thoughts on this overall, just to give some like hard and true thoughts before I wrap up here. Spitting the hard facts as I see them. First of all, expeditions, any investment in expeditions as far as dev time is just going to be a waste at this point. I think that there is nothing short of a absolute full fundamental overhaul, like literally like ripping it up from the ground up, reworking every single in-game event, adding in like crazy zany things like roguelike elements, just port over like the Mortis Trial stuff into that. You would have to do so much work to get this off the ground. Even then, you probably won't find a success here because the player base has cratered so far. The player base is dead. It's completely gone for this game mode that it's like you're trying to do cardiac resuscitation on a patient who's been dead for days. Like this is something that needed to have been done before the game mode launched and not after. We are trying to stabilize an orbit, a decaying orbit of a satellite at this point, and you cannot fight gravity like that, right? So there's really no incentive for players to pick up and play expeditions. Even with another map, that was never the issue. I mean, it was part of the issue, but that is only addressing one small part of the issue, and 2 maps is for expeditions is not going to be the sell because the core game mode here hasn't changed. And so certainly people who like it a little bit will check it out, but it's going to just fall off as hard as it did before. And all of this is at detriment to the core of the game, right? To the core of maps, to progressing the storyline that a lot of people were actually quite invested in. I mean, there's some lady, you might have heard of her, Joe Plays Games, who makes a whole YouTube channel apparently out of Darktide story. Good luck. I mean, Jesus, it's bad enough trying to make it out of Darktide content in general, but out of Darktide story, yeah, that's on pause. That stuff is all like on, just sort of being put to the side because of expeditions getting an update here. So my hope is that, much like we saw with Mortis Trials, where it got one update after the first update that introduced it, this will be the last time we'll see anything about expeditions, and then it can absolutely go in the back burner, and we can focus in on the really important things, which I think everyone would agree is first, maps, second, enemies, revamping existing enemies and making them competent and threatening in a way that isn't just like all being mixed variations of the same 2 guys, and thirdly, weapons. And I honestly am at this point, I would pay money for weapons. I don't know if Fat Shark, again, you might be watching this point, but I think myself and many others would not be opposed to DLC weapon packs, much like you did in Vermintide 2. I know that the game is monetized through the premium store and that you have sworn not to do like other paid DLC, but we have classes that are paid and people like those. the classes are very reasonably priced. If you had weapon packs with like 3 weapons that could be used with multi-classes or could be used by like 1 or 2 classes, and people could pick which ones they wanted, even if the weapons weren't like meta-defining or like OP, they would still be very popular just for diversity's sake, and it would be a good way to, like, you know, get a little bit of a kickback on your dev time. So, like, please consider making new weapons for the game, and in addition to, of course, revamping our existing set. But there are so many interesting and flavorful things that are in the 40K sort of wheelhouse that can be added that would be very, very realistic and absolutely would earn you back your buck. DLC weapon packs, GG. I don't think it's a controversial opinion. I would pay $5 for like 3 weapons, or even maybe even $6. Who knows? Like half the price of a DLC class sounds good to me. So yeah, that is everything that I really wanted to say about this update. Seems like it's pretty light on stuff outside of the Skitarii itself, as I expected, and that is why I'm saying I'm really hoping, as good as classes are, that we don't get any more classes this year. I'm good. Let's get back to basics. Let's make classes. Or let's don't make any more classes, okay? Make maps, balance changes, weapons, and enemies. That's what I want to see the rest of this year, okay? That's my hope. Okay, I'm wish casting that out there, manifesting it into reality. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in with me. I know this went a little bit long and I kind of meandered at the end there, but hey, it's a happy day. We got 1 month, and this just took up a half hour of that 1 month, so we're a little bit closer to Skitarii being released. I'll see you out there. Mystery out. Bye-bye.